Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Blacklogic. Unfortunately, in Philadelphia, two people have been left dead and 9 others wounded during a Memorial Day celebration. This is kind of after the wrapping up this Memorial Day celebration, and this is very horrific given what the Memorial Day actually celebrates. Those soldiers, Marines, airmen, and naval persons, they have sacrificed and given their all to defense and security in the freedoms of America, the so-called rights and so-called freedoms that we have, but nonetheless, people have lost their lives. And I just want to break this down. I'm just going to give you the report. I'm not going to really go in too much as I'm still gathering information to see the cause of this particular horrific incident. It states that 2 people are dead and 9 others were wounded after a mass shooting in Philadelphia's Fairmount Park on Monday night. The victims killed include an adult man and an adult woman. Philadelphia Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel said 3 teenagers between 15 and 17 years of age are among the wounded. The gunfire erupted around 10:27 p.m. on Lemon Hill Drive at Poplar Drive. The men and women were here early in the day, so the activity, they were packing up as this incident unfolded. But unfortunately, the individuals continued to engage gunfire, even though the officers were in the area, Bethel said. Multiple rounds were fired. Bethel said, and investigators are working to determine if several different weapons were involved. No one is in custody, Bethel said, and no weapons have been recovered. Unfortunately, that people have lost their lives during a celebration and memorable day for those who sacrificed everything for the freedoms and rights that America has and within our security. Me being a soldier as well as a Marine, this is a tragic event that really puts a loom light on the celebration altogether, and hopefully they can find the perpetrators and prosecute them at the full extent of the law. Now, I know you guys are aware this situation is going on when it comes to Harvard and President Trump. And some of the things we're going to cover today, we're going to cover how President Trump turned a national holiday into a political battlefield, honoring soldiers while lashing out at Biden and federal judges and Harvard and even Vladimir Putin, from threatening to strip $100 million in federal contracts from Harvard to calling Biden scum and labeling Putin crazy. But we're also going to cover the U.S.-backed Gaza Aid program by bypassing the UN. We're going to go over a clip of a viral cultural clash at the AMAs with Shaboozey and Megan Moroney, and then Trump's secret budget cuts and pardons and the massive international blowback. So the Trump administration is intensifying the scrutiny of Harvard University by moving to cancel approximately $100 million in federal contracts. And this decision follows previous action where over $2.6 billion in federal research grants were rescinded. So again, President Trump is going all in on Harvard University. The administration cites Harvard's alleged mishandling of campus anti-Semitism and concerns over racial discrimination and admissions as primary reason for this move. And the agencies are now directed to seek alternative vendors, potentially severing long-standing collaborations with the Ivy League institution. And I think when it comes to Harvard University, again, the contracts, the amount of money that they have that they get from the federal government, they're trying to do a countersue and sue the Trump administration, or sue the government rather, of the funding being cut that's coming from the federal government. But nonetheless, I'll keep you guys updated. If you're new to Blacklogic, please hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you are notified every time I release a video or go live. In a recent statement, President Trump labeled Russian President Vladimir Putin as crazy following Russia's intensified attacks on Ukraine. The Kremlin swiftly responded, dismissing Trump's remark as emotional overload. This exchange underscores the escalating tension between the U.S. and Russia amidst the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. And the only thing that I kind of want to dive into when it comes to the Ukraine-Russian conflict that President Trump is in the midst of, he's in the middle of, is he made some wild, outlandish claims when he was running for president that he could have this war over in a day, that he is friends with Putin, they have a good relationship, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We know the relationship there, but it seems as though that relationship is no longer. There's no longer a tight relationship between President Trump and Vladimir Putin, because President Putin is doing whatever he wants to do, whenever he wants to do it, and he doesn't care the so-called relationship that he supposedly had with President Trump. And again, I know that when people are running for president, they make all sorts of claims, they make all sorts of promises, and depending on the promises they make, really chooses their voting base, really sway those people who are on the fence who are voting for them, if they're voting for their best interests or against their best interests. And a lot of people, okay, of course, there was illegal immigration and government spending and government fraud, waste, and abuse, but it was also these conflicts and wars that people were voting that President Trump could at least get a ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia, at least a ceasefire between Hamas and Israel. And now we have another conflict that has been stirring up that really hasn't garnered much attention, and that is between Pakistan and India. So again, we're going to keep you on the forefront of that as well. But nonetheless, we have all these conflicts going on. And again, to his point, President Trump has been stepping in and trying to render some sort of ceasefire. He's been trying to negotiate between all of these parties, but that has not been fruitful for him. Now, with his recent comments of calling President Putin crazy, how do you think President Putin is going to take that? Do you think that he's going to take that as inflammatory and defamatory language towards him? Inflammatory and defaming language? Do you believe he's going to take that kindly, that you call another world leader, that you're trying to negotiate peace because you don't want Ukraine to be toppled? Like, do you think that was the right course to go at it? You think that was the right words to be very diplomatic? You think he's willing now to come back to the table and negotiate? Is the EU, is NATO going to further support Ukraine in this conflict? Is America going to continue to fork out billions of taxpayer dollars to support this war between Ukraine and Russia? Because do not forget, Russia is allies with North Korea, China, and India. So they had plenty of resources, okay? They one of the juggernauts when it comes to natural gas and crude oil. So they have resources, they have partners, they have allies, very large GDPs that's backing them. And they're the third largest GDP in the world. And China, one of their allies, is the second largest GDP in the world. And we've never been really friends with China, but ever since the so-called tariff war, who do you think China is more inclined to support? I'll leave that to the masses. I'll let you guys figure that out because, again, I think we already know. During the Memorial Day celebration, during the Memorial Day ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery, President Trump honored fallen U.S. service member. However, his speech took a very political turn as he criticized President Biden and federal judges, accusing them of undermining the country. Trump's remarks, including calling Biden scum on social media, have drawn criticism for politicizing a day meant for solemn remembrance. He turned this into a political theater. The only thing he had to do was honor the fallen. He's on TV every day. He's holding a news conference every day. He could have said all of those comments about calling Biden scum, federal judges scum, on many of the news castings that he had when he invites a lot of the news agencies to ask him questions live. But on the national stage of remembering those who sacrificed their lives, which is the highest contribution that you can give to your country, you stand up there and you solemnly swear to your country that you would defend your country against foreign and domestic terrorism, and foreign and domestic threats. He honored them, and he went right into name calling of a previous president and federal judges. And again, I know a lot of you who voted for President Trump, you did not vote for him because he was presidential or what we see as traditional hallmarks and characteristics and personalities of a president. But again, when can President Trump do wrong? Because again, I know a lot of people come out and they make excuses for him. Oh, well, he already remembered the soldiers. So at this point, he can now talk about what he wants to talk about. The whole celebration was remembering the fallen. But this is who you guys voted in. And I'm not saying Kamala Harris was any better. I didn't vote for her either. And that's why I think people who voted for President Trump, I would like to say at least 20 to 25% didn't vote for President Trump, the man, the rhetoric. They voted for his policies or the policies they thought, they was going to essentially get, but here we are. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, also known as GHF, which is a U.S.-backed group, has commenced aid distribution in Gaza, aiming to bypass traditional UN channels. While the initiative seeks to address urgent humanitarian needs, it has faced criticism for potentially politicizing aid and lacking neutrality. The UN and other organizations have expressed concerns over the GHFs and operations and their implications for the region. Now, if you are a Gazian and you're there in Gaza and you're not a Hamas and you're just looking for your next plate of food, you're looking for your next shelter, you're looking for some sort of stability, then this is a great thing. And hopefully, as we see these trucks going to the Gaza Strip to render aid, hopefully all of those resources reaches those people in need who has nothing to do with the Hamas and Israel conflict. Again, a lot of innocent Palestinians and a lot of those who reside in the Gaza region have been, the whole region have been decimated. A lot of people have been killed. And we're talking about men, women, and children alike. And then at one point in time, you had President Trump talking about making the Gaza Strip a beachfront property, that he wanted to, essentially America to own and operate that. And then the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, also came out and said he wanted the Gaza Strip. Again, this goes back to with a lot of Palestinian and those residing in the Gaza region stating that these foreign powers want to occupy Gaza. They want to occupy certain regions within Palestine. That this is an occupied state. Now, and again, as we have a lot of conflicting and contradicting information, I will keep you guys abreast and updated of this ongoing conflict, as well as the humanitarian aid effort. And again, I do pray that these this aid and these resources get to the people who are mostly in need. I wish they do really get that aid. Now, this was very, very controversial because at the 2025 American Music Awards, rapper Shaboozey reaction to co-presenter Megan Moroney's claim that the Carter family basically invented country music went viral. And Shaboozey's side eye and pause highlighted the ongoing conversation about the overlooked contributions of Black artists to the genre. The moment has reignited discussions about the diverse roots of country music and the importance of acknowledging its full history. Black people have a very strong stance in country music that a lot of non-Black people are not aware of how even country music started. But I'm gonna let you guys hear this very short clip so you guys can have your own take on it. I'm just gonna let it play right here. Give me 1 second.
Country music has been an important part of AMA history. The very first year of this show, the award for favorite male country artist went to the great Charlie Pride.
That same year, Favorite Female Artist went to Lynn Anderson, and this award went to the Carter family, who basically invented country music.
This year's AMA nominees in that category are very impressive and include a few of our friends.
All right, so that was a clip that Megan Moroney made. Okay, that was a comment that she made regarding country music. Okay, and a lot of people have been, giving her flack about that because maybe she seems to be very young. She don't seem any older than maybe 32. So she may not be educated on the history of country music, and she probably just maybe heard a quick clip or something on those regards. But nonetheless, I do want to kind of give a very quick breakdown and background of essentially how country music started. Because if we start at the beginning with the banjo, did you know that this iconic instrument traces directly back to West Africa? And enslaved Africans brought it to the Americans. It was a symbol of our music heritage, and it became the backbone of early American folk and country music. So automatically you can see how Black people created country music in its very, very organic origins. And over time, white artists adopted it, but they didn't invent it. They inherited from African ancestors, our Black American ancestors. Now let's talk about a man named Gus Cannon, because in the 1920s, Gus helped popularize jug bands, groups using homemade instruments like jugs, washboards, and banjos. And I know a little bit about this. I'm a native of Washington, D.C. We have go-go bands, and we beat on buckets, we beat on jugs, we beat on anything that make a noise, and we make rhythms and sounds, and we have cowbells and cymbals and all those things. So again, that's enriched in our culture that a lot of people don't know. Check out house music, check out go-go music, check out retro music, disco music. Look at all the different types of music that Black Americans have created and invented in a country. And then certain groups of people clinged on to one type of music more so. And as Black people migrated to different types of music. I digress. Now, this wasn't just a trend. It was a musical revolution because jug bands were precursors to the modern country sound, setting the stage for rhythmic storytelling. Then there's the overlooked genius Leslie Riddle, who was a Black guitarist whose impact is impossible to overstate because Riddle developed a finger-picking technique that shaped the very sound of country music. He worked with the Carter family. Again, he worked with the Carter family, helping collect, arrange, and even influence the very songs that would become country classic. Now, if we look at Hank Williams, the hillbilly Shakespeare of country music, even his greatness was molded by a Black mentor, Rufus, also known as T-Top Payne. T-Top gave Hank the blues-infused style that defined his iconic sound. And of course, all the inventions that Black people made, whether it be enslaved or Jim Crow, a lot of our inventions got stolen by slave masters and people who really tricked and manipulated Black people out of the things that we created, invented, and innovated. I digress. And this, the father of bluegrass, Bill Monroe, who openly credited, again, father of bluegrass, Bill Monroe, he openly credited a Black blue guitarist named Arnold Schultz for teaching him the swing and rhythm that became bluegrass. So again, when you look at country music, bluegrass, Black people from its origins have created and influenced and taught white people how to basically mimic the sound. Because don't forget, I already brought out the artist where Elvis Presley got his sound from. And if somebody want me to do a breakdown on that, please leave that in the comment section below. But if you want to know how Elvis Presley not only got his sound and his cadence and even his rhythm and even some of the songs that he sung was from a Black man. Again, I digress. But nonetheless, let that sink in. But the founding fathers of country and bluegrass were all taught, shaped, or heavily influenced by Black musicians. Now, you ever heard of DeFord Bailey? Because history tried to forget him, Bailey was the first Black artist to perform at the Grand Ole Opry. And not just once, he was a headliner in the 1920s and 30s who basically was a harmonica wizard. He held his own and outshined so many others. But due to racism and industry politics, he was dropped and left behind in the history books. And a lot of people are not even aware of this gentleman. Yet his sounds echoes on, inspiring others and proving once again that Black artistry is the bedrock of country music. This isn't just about righting historical wrongs. It's about understanding the true foundation of a music genre, because country music isn't whitewashed heartbreak. It's a tapestry woven from Black pain, joy, rhythm, and innovation. It's the blues, the gospel, the folk tales passed from plantation fields to porch steps. And today, artists like Rihanna Gittins, Darius Rucker, and Beyonce are reclaiming their rightful place in country music, reminding the world that it has always been our music too. So the next time someone tries to tell you country music didn't belong to Black people, you look them dead in the eye and you say, "Russell on the table, I love the way she ride. You got the new country songs that's coming out where people are doing line dances with cowboy boots on. I don't know the words, so to speak, but they are very catchy songs nonetheless. There are very catchy songs nonetheless. Now, to kind of go deeper into beyond the Memorial Day events, President Trump has been active on a lot of various fronts because he also announced plans to cut $3 billion in grants to Harvard University. So again, he's doubling and tripling down on Harvard University. And again, his inflammatory statements to President Putin, in my opinion, didn't really go over that well. But nonetheless, guys, I thank you for joining me here this morning. You guys have a great and wonderful day. This is Blacklogic.